Hello, vinyl community. It's Glen Kellaway from the basement with my good friend, Sam St. John. Hey, Sam.
Howdy, Glenn. How are you?
Really good. I've been excited to do this video today.
As have I. I've
Yeah,
been looking forward to it all week.
this is the last part of our four-part series on the Bob Dylan countdown. 80 songs, one for every year of his life, and we're down to the top 20.
Top 20. It's a top
Yeah,
20 today, but tomorrow it could be another 20.
that could be. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could do a top. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You could just take the 100 or the 80 and put them in a hat, and nobody could argue with your picks. There's no doubt. So before we get started, happy birthday, Bob. And I have to celebrate. I'm sorry, but there's Bob Dylan's rye whiskey, Heaven Store. I haven't been drinking this today. That's not from today. This is my first drink. I've had this bottle for a long time for special occasions. And I haven't had a drink of it for a while, but I'm gonna have some. And this is probably gonna hurt when I take the first sip. It's gonna be interesting to see my face because this is pretty good stuff.
This is good entertainment. This is entertainment right here.
This is entertainment right here watching this. So, cheers. Happy 80th, Bob.
I'll toast my diet ginger ale.
Ah, that's good. Hey, we're ready to go. Whoa. Well, that'll burn the tongue off you. Okay.
Somebody about to keep
I'm ready to
standing
rock.
upright.
I might be asleep before we get down to the top 20.
Yeah, I'll finish your list for you.
Yeah, please wake me up if you see me nodding off. So we might as well get started. You're gonna do number 20 to number 16, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. And I've said it every video, but thanks again for inviting me on for this. It's been incredibly enjoyable, especially since I've started with this part of my YouTube channel back in January. It's been neat to meet people like Glenn and others who, incorporate other friends into their videos. So I appreciate the opportunity to do this, and especially for an artist that we both, put up at the top echelons of excellence.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
So
Sam and I are going to do some more stuff together after we're finished the Bob. We'll figure out what to do next.
We'll do our top Justin Bieber songs next.
Yes.
For the Canadians. Alrighty, so I will start with number 20. And I've noticed, especially with these last 20, a lot of them come from the same few albums. I think I've got less than 10 albums represented.
You know what? When I pulled mine, I thought the same thing. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 albums.
I've got 9 albums and then a couple of non-album cuts. So we'll see.
That's crazy.
There could be some matching here. So those of you who are putting money down on the bets, now's your chance to bring it in. So number 20. This was, I guess, what you call, actually before the video was talking, we were talking about how Bob Dylan influences so many people in other genres, including rap. And I made reference to this song, which is number 20 from Bringing It All Back Home, Subterranean Homesick Blues. And those of you that don't know that title, I'm sure you know the video because it's been parodied everywhere with Bob holding the lyric cards, flipping them in black and white in that alley with Allen Ginsberg behind him.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just it's the album opener to Dylan's electric career. I mean, that's how Dylan's electric period starts, with just this fast-paced, less than 3 minutes. I think it's 2:40 maybe in length. Just a fantastic, just lyrical bombardment, a lot of surrealism. It's just Dylan at his finest. I love it. It's one that I like to play on my guitar with my harmonica. It's
cool.
Just it's a classic. If you're thinking about Dylan in the electric period, Subterranean has to go in his greatest hits of that era.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my number 20.
And pocket, watch for pocket meters. PAWKING.
Yeah. And for the Weird Al fans, watch Bob by Weird Al.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that there. But I'm sticking.
Good start. Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, don't take a sip for every song. You might be done very, very fast. Staying in his electric period, I'm moving over to Highway 61 with the title track, Highway 61 Revisited.
Oh, wow.
And I remember the second time that I saw Dylan, this was the second song that he played. And it was actually the moment where I actually was able to find my seat in the auditorium because it was so dark. And he was jamming on it. And of course, it became a bigger hit in the 70s with Edgar Winter Group, which I think Glenn mentioned the song earlier. And
Johnny Winter. Johnny
Winter. Just a classic blues song. Abe said, "Man, you must be putting me on." I mean, I love this. He uses slang with historical characters. Next time you see me coming, you better run. I mean, it's a rocker. Again, it's one of those that defines the electric period of Dylan. It defines his prolific nature. I love it. Again,
that's awesome stuff.
All of these songs right now, this top 20, they can go any which way. So right now, at this very moment, that's my number 19.
Can I ask you a geography question? Highway 61, yes. Doesn't that run south from Duluth or from Minnesota somewhere? That highway?
Oh my goodness. I'm not the geography man that you want to be talking to. I'm a GPS guy.
I'm not either. I got to look that up on a map because I'm pretty sure it's a Highway 61 is a highway that runs through his home.
Yeah, it goes to the Delta. I mean, so it's a reference to like the blues history as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my number 19.
Cool.
Number 18, moving up a little bit in his career, moving later in years, to the New Morning record, If Not For You, which again, one that I absolutely love. George Harrison, of course, made it famous. I want to say George recorded it just before Bob. I think All Things
so.
Must Pass.
Because All Things Must Pass came out in 1970.
And this was 1970 as well, but I believe it came out just after. And of course, there's a great version of the rehearsals of the concert for Budapest with George and Bob singing.
Concert for Bangladesh,
yeah. The concert for Budapest was Cheap Trick.
I thought I missed that one. The concert for Budapest, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, that was the Lester attended.
Yeah.
Yeah. They try to redo it all, but yeah. Again, I'm sorry for that, folks. I'm not even drinking the whiskey. It melodically, it's one of Dylan's best tunes, in my opinion, and it's just a great love song. I mean, he's telling his lover, "If not for you, I couldn't find the door." I mean, without her, he's nothing. And again, this is one that I love to play. It's a simple chord structure. I actually play it on ukulele too because it's one of those easy songs where you can just play, and I love it. I mean, it's one of those songs where I'll listen to tons of different cover versions of it when I get into the song every so many months. So that's my number 18, If Not For You. Number 17, going back in time again. I think, from the Freewheelin', Bob Dylan, the second album, and really I would say his first official album, just to show his songwriting prowess. A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. And just one of those beautiful songs, but it's so full of grief, and it really captures that era of the early 60s, with the Kennedy assassination around this time. And essentially when they said the world lost its innocence is kind of when this album came out. And I mean, it's just beautiful. It's another one of those songs. I listen to a lot of covers of it. One that it's great to see him acoustic live from old archival footage of this song. It's just beautiful. So yeah, I'm not going to say anything else about it.
And it's timeless. Those lyrics still stand up.
Yeah,
There's a hard rain gonna fall if people don't smarten up.
But I love it. It's Dylan young. He's young too. He's 22 years old. So anyway, that's my number 17.
Great pick.
And to round out this first 5, a non-album cut, number 16, When I Paint My Masterpiece.
Oh,
I the last time I saw Dylan back in 2018, I think it was 2018. Yeah, 2018. He sang this, and that's the first time I'd seen him do it live. And he changed some of the lyrics, which this is one of those songs where he's changing lyrics around. It to me, this is like a song that you could play when Bob Dylan passes away, when, heaven forbid, hope we keep him another 20 years. This is one of those that you could play at his funeral, because it encompasses, even though the lyrics don't necessarily make sense with his life, it's one that you could play at his funeral to say, like, Dylan's masterpiece is continuing to be painted. I mean, he's on the borders now of his canvas because he's ending his earthly time, but he is still painting out to that edge. And again, it's a beautiful song. It's been done by the band. It was on their Cahoots album, and I love hearing the band's longing vocals in that. With Levon, I mean, his voice is kind of on a higher register. So again, it's a perfect song. It's number 16, but it's a perfect song.
It's one of the songs I regret not moving up into my top 20, actually, because it's a big favorite of mine too as well. And well said there. He's still painting his masterpiece.
Yeah.
Which is great for all of us. Wow, great first 5, man.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 20. I did this list I did last week because I was doing the top from 40 to 21, and the only way I could do 40 to 21 was to do my top 20, so I didn't leave my top 20 songs out. So I've had this done for a week, and then I picked it up today, and I'm looking at it, and I switched number 20 and number 19. I don't know why. So number 20, from another side of Bob Dylan, Chimes of Freedom. Great song. I think we talked about this last week. I think you had it on your list last week. And yeah, just a beautiful song. And I love Springsteen's acoustic version of this as well. Really powerful tune. Chimes of Freedom. Okay, number 19. The song that Dylan played at Newport when he got supposedly booed off the stage with the Butterfield Blues Band, Maggie's Farm. Freaking love Maggie's Farm. What a great song. I talked about this yesterday with my nephew Jack in the video we did on these trilogy albums, and yeah, he was just saying he's 68. She said she's 54 or whatever. He loves that line. It's just an amazing song. I was listening to the Hard Rain album today because Maggie's Farm is the first song on that album, and I really like that version of it, that live version.
It's blistering.
Okay, number 18, off of the album that Sam just loves and hates. Blonde on Blonde. Just Like a Woman. Gorgeous song. Big hit for Bob. What can you say? It's a great song. Just Like a Woman. Number 17. I'm losing my... There it is. The second last song off of Highway 61, Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues. Great lyrics in this song, man. When you're lost in where it is. It's just an amazing, amazing song. Just like Tom Thumb's Blues.
Have you heard him do that? Did you ever see him do that live? The times that you saw him?
I don't think so. No.
He doesn't pull it out too much.
No, I saw him late 90s when you couldn't tell what the hell he was singing, and he sang it then. And number 16, one that you just mentioned. It's just such an incredible song. A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. Incredible. Said it's a warning to us all from a young Bob Dylan. Okay, that's my first 5.
Cool. Well, that's cool. We were just one off on that last one.
Yeah.
we've had a few one-offs like that. I want to say maybe one match in the first video.
Yeah, it's there's been a couple. There's been 3 or 4 that have been right almost dead on.
Yeah, back and back.
Out of 80.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, number 15. I can't quite put my finger on why I love this song so much. From Infidels, Joker Man.
Oh.
And Glenn mentioned it, I think, last week. His performance on Letterman, where he does like a punk version. And for the life of me, I meant to look up the band that he was playing with. But they're a punk band, and they're not Dylan's backing guys. And like the big thing about that was Dylan's stagehand came out and gave him the wrong harmonica, and the band just keep playing, and like they're kind of looking at each other laughing, and Dylan is tuning up his harmonica to make sure it's right, and they probably felt like an eternity for them, but it was like 15 seconds. But I love that song. This is one of those albums I remember, in terms of the album as a whole, I remember listening to it a lot a couple of years ago when I was working on the eastern side of Virginia for an internship, and driving the hour trip that I had back and forth to work. And Joker Man was the song that I always just blasted. Birds Fly High to the Nightingale's tune.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a rocking song, and it's Dylan. It's the opening of Infidels. It's like the opening of his post gospel period.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love it. Joker Man is 15.
Yeah. I remember back when that album came out in the 80s, I had it, and I was working with this younger guy, and he didn't know Bob Dylan from Mickey Mouse. He didn't have a clue. And he had to borrow my work truck, and the only music in the truck was Infidels. And he's out driving around doing pickups and stuff, and he comes back and going, the album just blew him away. Joker Man was like that first song when it came on, because he was, from then on, he was like a Dylan fan. I'll always remember that, how he came back talking about Joker.
Because it just starts right into it. They're standing on the water.
Yeah.
Like, it's
just a great song. Yeah. Awesome. Great pick.
All right. Moving back to an album. Number 14. Again, sticking to freewheeling. It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding. And again, Glenn and I were talking beforehand.
That's on It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding is on Bring It All Back Home.
Yes, it is. Shoo. I grabbed the albums and didn't even. My apologies. Because it harkens back to.
He sang that. He sang that at the concert for Budapest.
The concert for Budapest, yeah. with Rick Nielsen opening. And Robin Zander. Yeah, excuse me, folks. Again, I'm not having the Heaven's Door whiskey. I'm having some ginger ale.
Maybe you should have had some.
Maybe.
Yeah, you better take up drinking.
So rewind that, back up, fast forward, bring it all back home. The first of the electric albums, however, not a full electric album. It's on the second half of the album. It's the second to last track. But it's one that you think of as like pre-electric Dylan, because you see the clips of him singing it online, and it's just, like, it was the first part of his electric sets in front of the curtain when he was just playing the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking before the video started, and I was saying how throughout the day I've been putting up some of my favorite Dylan lyrics with a video on my different platforms, and this was one of the songs that I put up, and possibly a contender for my favorite Dylan line is out of that song, where he says, "Sometimes even the president of the United States must have to stand naked."
Yeah.
And that always gets a big cheer, regardless of when he was singing it. I've been listening to, Dylan live in the 90s. Every time he sings that line, he gets a cheer. He did it in the 80s. He got a cheer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a line. It's so human.
Yeah.
And people are like, nobody is above anybody when it all comes down to it, because we're all naked and we're all right here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a great song. Again, 24 years old. Give me a break.
And I'm trying to. It was on the soundtrack to Easy Rider, the classic movie with Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper. and I'm thinking it was Roger McGuinn who did it. I could be wrong there, but it's a great version of
You
it.
see, I've never seen that movie, so
Oh, really?
I know
Oh,
I know most of the soundtrack, but yeah.
yeah, it's on the soundtrack.
So I apologize for the hiccup there, but anyway, you get the idea.
I got your back, buddy. It's okay. We got
this is from the Freewheelin'. I can promise and guarantee it. It's the opening track, and it's a lot of people's number one, "Blowing in the Wind." I mean, what can you say about essentially the song that defines Bob Dylan as a folkie? I mean, it's just, but probably right at 100 words in the whole song, and it's coming from the brain of a kid who, was college age writing it, and the college kids were the ones who were being, drafted by the, into the Vietnam War, and there was segregation and everything that was going on that we've all read about, that we have lived through. I mean, it's blowing in the wind. It's Dylan's, when again, not to be morbid, but when Dylan finally leaves this earth, in his in the article that's going to be written about him, "Blowing in the Wind" will be mentioned. I mean, no question.
absolutely.
And I know
his epitaph. Yeah,
it will be. And the answer, my friend, is "Blowing in the Wind." And Bob Dylan has, again, with his masterpiece, he's blowing in the wind. I mean, he's still doing his thing. But of course, I mean, I know, Glenn, you kind of got first hooked on this with Peter, Paul and Mary.
Yeah, that's the first I've ever heard a Bob Dylan song, was Peter, Paul and
Yeah.
Mary's "Blowing in the Wind." Yeah.
And a lot of people probably still, I mean, even now, I mean, that's still a song that they play on the radio, that version on the oldies channels. But again, I don't want to harken too much onto the song. I mean, it's one that he closes a lot of his shows with. I think every time that I've seen him, that's been, at least to the main set, that's what he's finished with, before the encore. And any way that he does it, because he of course changes his arrangements, any way that he does it, it's powerful. That's when it means something. I mean, you can have a good melody, and you're like, oh, that song is a hit, but then you completely rearrange the song and it's nothing.
Yeah.
That's when you know the difference between pop and art. So "Blowing in the Wind," that's my 13. Now going back to bringing it all back home once again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Mr. Tambourine Man, again, from the acoustic half of the album. And again, probably one of Dylan's biggest hits commercially, of course, done by the Byrds, from their Mr. Tambourine Man album. A lot of people's first introduction to Dylan was this song. The kids growing up in 1965, they heard the Byrds and they're like, what is that? And then they find Dylan and go back to his catalog, and there's folk rock for you. And again, it's one of those songs. It's kind of autobiographical. I mean, it's kind of about the traveling minstrel who goes around playing his tunes and works for peanuts, and there's imagery. I mean, it captures the imagery of the 1960s. Of somebody who didn't live in it, I can picture the 60s sounding like that song. Yeah, I mean, it's a song written in color as well, in my opinion. I mean, it's an acoustic song, but it's a colorful song. So that's my number 12, Mr. Tambourine Man. All right, and lastly, the title track of Dylan's third album, "The Times They Are Changing." Again, another one of those songs like "Blowing in the Wind," where you can, this could be the song that defines Dylan. I mean, he's got a million songs like that, because you have his folk period, his electric period, his gospel. I mean, you have so many eras to choose from to define Dylan when he can't be defined. So "The Times They Are Changing," again, completely timely. It can be sung at any rally or events for a social cause, and it's going to mean something. A recent version of this that I really love is, I want to say 2010. Dylan was at the White House for an event, and it was just him and somebody on the stand-up bass, I think, playing the bow and piano, and Dylan was standing, playing his guitar, which is rare. Again, Dylan for the last 15 years, he hasn't really been a guitar guy. I think he has some arthritis that prevents him from some of that. But that it's just so beautiful. And what makes it special is he's doing it at it's the Obama White House. So there's, this song written in a time of segregation, and he's singing it for the first, African American president and first lady who are watching him from the front row. And I mean, that's, again, it's one of those songs where it can be done anyway and it's going to be perfect.
Powerful song.
That's
Again.
Another one to define the 60s too.
Yeah.
So that rounds up that section of my list.
Okay. My number 15. The last song on side 1, Highway 61, Ballad of a Thin Man. You know that something's happening, but you don't know what it is, do you, Mr. Jones? Kind of a whole put down of what they would consider the people that weren't cool in the 60s.
His reporters.
Yeah, the reporters. Yeah, I think it was geared towards some of the reporters and some of the questions he was being asked at press conferences and stuff, right?
He's a song and dance man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the song and dance man. That's right. Yeah, it's a Ballad of a Thin Man. Besides like a Rolling Stone, which I heard before I bought this album as the single, but when I got the album, really, if you take that Like a Rolling Stone away, because I was already blown away by it, Ballad of a Thin Man, although it's not my favorite song on the album now, but it's up there. But it really blew me away. That's the song that really got me when I first heard this album. Ballad of a Thin Man. Okay, well, we're going to do just what you just did. Do I have the right album here? I don't know if I brought those. Oh, yeah, there it is. Title song. You just did it. Times They Are Changing. It just doesn't get any powerful than this. This Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. I mean, these songs smacked you right between the eyes. They just did, especially in the times, and they're still.
Yeah.
They still mean something.
Yeah.
There's too much stuff going on in the world. Okay, number 13. I love this freaking song so much. It could be my number 1. Like, it's just beautiful. Off of Blood on the Tracks, Simple Twist of Fate. I think this is, well, obviously it's in my top 20 Dylan songs, but it's just an amazing song. I'm a big Jerry Garcia fan, and I love listening to Jerry do it as well. Man, this song's incredible. I was listening to Blood on the Tracks on the weekend, and this album is just, I'm telling you.
I love his phrase.
Blow this one up as the greatest album of all time. I could make an argument. There's not much difference between the quality of those records.
In terms of Dylan as a singer, for Simple Twist of Fate, when he says "hit him like a freight," and this is pause train.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that for the rhyme.
Been like a freight
train. Yeah, it's great.
Okay, then we're going to a song that you mentioned already. First song off of Bring It All Back Home, Subterranean Homesick Blues. The song I always consider the first rap song ever made. So, just an incredible song. Just the lines he comes up with in the song are great. Watch out for parking meters, and the whole thing's don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. And then I think there was a subversive group in the 60s that was formed.
The Weathermen.
Called the Weathermen. Yeah, which took the name from that, right?
I believe.
Yeah.
So, and as a side note, I think there's I think that it's been proven that Dylan is the most quoted person in, at least in U.S. the court system. And I know,
really?
You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. I can't remember the case, but there was a big case where the judge quoted that line in reference to the case.
Wow.
So somebody can credit that judge somewhere in the comments. But yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so my last pick out of these 5 is from Freewheelin'.
Was that 5 right there?
That was 4.
No, yeah,
I got one
yeah.
more.
Sorry,
Number
sheesh, I'm
11.
not here, folks.
Girl from the North Country. I think that's just a beautiful song. Great poetic lyrics. See for me that her hair's what I can't even remember the words there.
See for me that her hair's hanging down, it curls and
Yeah.
falls all down her breast.
Yeah. That's
See
the
for
way
me that she's wearing a coat so warm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous song. And I love I love Dylan's version off of Freewheelin', but the version with Johnny Cash off of Nashville Skyline, I could just listen to it all day. So yeah, that's my number.
And did we mention? I think last week, because I had that song on my list last week. You say the definitive version is from Freewheeling, and I say it's from Nashville.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean,
Yeah, no, yeah. Yes, great song. Okay,
what
we're
this
down to the
means?
last 10.
Top 10.
This is crazy.
Yeah, start placing
Really
the bets
anxious to
again.
hear what you came up with for 10, because I know there's some I know that you haven't picked yet, but I know there's some that you picked last week that are in my top 10 you already took. So I'm really excited to hear your list.
This is going to be choosing between 11 and 10 was a big deal, trying to make, because my number 11 was Times They Are Changing. I'm like, that's a top 10 song.
Yeah.
Easy.
For anybody else in the world, any songwriter, that would be their best song they ever wrote.
And then some.
Yeah.
I mean, good
Okay,
grief.
I'm gonna go get some popcorn before we start. This is gonna be good.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay.
I'll do some of my subterranean raps for the folks.
Perfect.
All right, number 10. This may surprise people to be in my number 10. And again, Glenn mentioned this a while back. I think it might have been 2 videos ago. But I absolutely love this song. And I'm not somebody, I don't have all of Dylan's material in physical copy. I haven't heard all of Dylan's material, so I'm not an expert on Dylan. So really since 2012 is when I started since Tempest is when I started collecting Dylan. And so since then, like everything that comes out, I'm going to buy. So when this came out, but sorry for the reverse, it's the Cutting Edge Bootleg series, which I know the track that I'm mentioning was released on volumes 1 through 3, but I don't have that. This is the one I bought. The song is Farewell Angelina.
Oh, yeah.
And one of those songs that, you hear it. And again, it's like that song for anybody could be a top song. Mm-hmm. But Dylan only recorded it in one take, only one time, and never released it. And then you have Joan Baez come and take it. We talked about later on, Tim O'Brien does it on Red on Blonde. And it's such a beautiful song. It captures somebody's beauty to Dylan. The triangle tingles, it's just, there's so many surreal lyrics in it. Mm-hmm. It's the sky's changing colors and I must go.
Yeah, there's a line about the clock, the hands of the clock. I can't remember how that line goes. That's the line I really love too. Time bombs or something, or something. I don't know. Can't remember, but just
not to be confused with soy bombs, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
For the Dylan fanatics.
Great pick. I could have moved that up on my list too. That could be top 20.
Again, one of those I played on guitar. The tune is always in my head, and I think even the tune was taken from an old folk melody, so it's not even really Dylan's tune; it's his lyrics. But again, it's the folk in the man. It was recorded during.
You know what? People say he plagiarized and stole stuff and everything, but the whole genre was based on borrowing melodies and lines and stuff.
And he was a purist.
Folk music was passed down. That's why it's folk. That's why it's called folk music.
Exactly. but it was recorded during the Bringing It All Back Home sessions in '65. And again, it was a one-off recording, never done again. But I'm so happy he did it straight all the way through so that we have the recording. And it's perfect. So that's my number 10, Farewell Angelina. If you haven't heard it, check it out. Moving back to an album that I mentioned at the beginning, early on, that was my number 19. So this is number 9. The final track off of Highway 61, Desolation Row. I absolutely love that song. And again, the last time I saw Dylan, 2018, still one of the best concerts I've ever seen. Definitely the best Dylan show that I've seen. He did Desolation Row, and I was just mind blown that he did it. It's 10 minutes long, and it's like it's about the guys on Skid Row. It's about the junkies in the streets, and they're painting the passports brown. Just little nuggets throughout the whole song. I mean, it's mournful, but there's almost a hope in it. And again, not a song that you would expect somebody of his age to write.
Yeah.
And not to toot my own horn, but I took Dylan's folk, his folk status. Like we were just discussing Farewell Angelina with him taking the melody. I took Desolation Row after the fire occurred at Notre Dame Cathedral in France a few years ago, and I wrote a song about the fire at Notre Dame. So like I used Notre Dame as my pronunciation of the cathedral, but I did a Desolation Row about that fire and that, like, the feelings that when I watched the news and those spires falling into itself, and that was a sad day just for anybody. And so that's how much I love that song. I took, again, like just like Dylan would, I took the melody, wrote new lyrics to it, and it's a song that I will forever love, and I'll never skip it. It's a long song, but I'll never skip it. So that's my number 9.
Yeah.
Number 8, another non-album track that was a basement tape cut, and it's "You Ain't Going Nowhere." And I know we discussed this earlier. Glenn, it's a favorite of his to play on his banjo. It's a favorite of mine on guitar. Actually, I just saw 4 years ago, I played this song for Dylan's birthday 4 years ago. I did a cover of it and put it on my social media. So 4 years ago today, I was playing this song in my living room. So that was kind of cool. But of course, the definitive version of it for many is by the Byrds from their Sweetheart of the Rodeo album, with Roger McGuinn taking the lead vocals on it. And it's one of those songs, it's a perfect like closing song for like a group ensemble of people. I got to see McGuinn and Hillman with Marty Stewart a couple of years ago do the Sweetheart album, and they open and close their Sweetheart set with "You Ain't Going Nowhere." So that was really cool. Kind of asking the audience the second time to have more participation in it, but I love it. It's one of those songs I absolutely love to hear all the time.
Song. Yeah.
Actually, I prefer the Byrds version in terms of the lyrics because Dylan, it's one of those songs. There's a couple different versions with, Genghis Khan is not in one of them, but anyway, it's a great song, great country song.
Amazing
You
song.
Ain't Going Nowhere. Number
I'm glad
8.
to see that in your top 10. It probably should have made mine too.
I know you're gonna be saying yours here in a minute.
I'm full of regrets.
Full of regrets. Yeah. All right, number 7. Going back again, I said I've got very few albums here because these are just so good. Back to the Freewheeling. Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. Again, just it's one of those songs where it's a love song, but then he's like, you just kind of wasted my precious time. Like, we fell in love, we had a life together, and then you leave, and but it's okay. I'm all right. I'll move on.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's one that he did all 3 times that I saw him. Completely different arrangement, but it's one of those that guys that are learning finger picking on guitar will play, and nobody can play it quite the same because Dylan's not a trained guitarist, but it's one that I play and pretend like it sounds good. It's one of those songs. I think it's one of those songs too. It's actually, from what I've noticed, it's making a comeback with younger musicians. I'll say like a lot of younger musicians, like even like some top 40. Like I know the rapper Post Malone. He just before he was famous, he did a acoustic version of this on YouTube of him singing it straight, because he's a good singer on top of being a rapper, but he's a good singer, and he was singing this song, and people found it, and like it got millions of views and things, and other artists were singing the song and putting it on albums, and it's one of those songs that it's having I guess a third life at this point. Again, it's another perfect Dylan song from his second album.
I cannot argue with you.
Yeah. So that brings me then to number 6. Switching back to this album. Again, this is a song that on many lists it's considered the greatest Bob Dylan song, and next week it might be my favorite, but for now it's number 6. It's the song that really pushed his electric period, Like a Rolling Stone. That's the one, where at the Manchester Hall, somebody was calling him Judas just before he came out and sang, and he turns around to the band and says, "Play it loud," and they rip into it. And the rest is history. I know, I'll let you talk about it when it comes, but for your opinion. But again, it's one of those songs, I know Bruce Springsteen talks about it too, where it was just like a ball of fire when he first heard that snare snap to kick in the single, this like 6.5-minute single. And for years Rolling Stone voted it the greatest song of all time. And it's about downtrodden, it's about somebody that's high on their horse. And they're nothing's kind of like the President of the United States line, where everybody's on the same playing field when it comes down to it. But what can I say about this song? I mean, the articles have been written about it. Go read them. I'm not an expert, but I'm putting it at number 6.
Wow, very cool. Okay, so my number 10 to number 6. I'm starting back with Sam's favorite Dylan album. He's slowly coming around. I know it. Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. I just love this song. It blew me away the first time I heard it. When you bought the record and it took up the whole side 4 of the double album, which in my experience was never done before, maybe on a jazz album or something, but not in pop rock field. And it was mind-blowing just to go, holy shit, that takes up the whole side.
Yeah.
It's just a great song. I love the imagery in it. He wrote it for his wife. He wrote it actually during the sessions with the Nashville guys, the session guys playing cards, wondering what the hell was happening, and getting paid by the hour just to sit around and play cards for most of the time, while Dylan's in another room scribbling lyrics for Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowland, and then coming out and they create magic. It's unbelievable. But Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. Okay. Here's the song off of Bringing It All Back Home. It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding. I freaking love that song. It's just, I don't know what to say. It's just, again, lyrically, it's really a powerful song. Darkness at the Break of Dawn. It's just, I don't know. It's really powerful. That's all I got to say. I love it.
Handmade Blades, The Child's Balloon.
Yeah. I mean, just really, it's angry, but
it's also,
again, it's almost like a Don't Think Twice, It's All Right in another way, but like Don't Think Twice to his old lover or whatever. Don't worry, you just wasted my time, but it's okay. And this is almost like, this is all happening, but it's okay. I'm only bleeding. So,
And what's as cool is he never says that either.
No, he doesn't.
He's sighing, he's crying.
Yeah, he's never bleeding.
He's never bleeding. I guess the end of it is you imply that he is bleeding at the end of the song.
Amazing. Okay. Freewheeling. First track. Sam's already mentioned it. Blowing in the Wind. Mazzy, Norman Maslov, has a vinyl tag going on right now for folk music. Folk music tag 2021. Get involved in it if you're a folkie. He had 20 questions that we had to answer showing folk music records. And the last question was, tell us what your favorite folk song is and why. So I picked Blowing in the Wind. I don't know if there's a lot of incredible folk songs from This Land Is Your Land to whatever you want to, If I Had a Hammer, or whatever you want to name is a great folk song, but Blowing in the Wind is so powerful. Just incredible. I mean, it makes you think when you hear this song. I don't care if you've heard it 1,000 times, it makes you think. And it's the first Bob Dylan song I ever heard, but I didn't know it was Bob Dylan. I didn't know him at all. But Blowing in the Wind, I knew. And yeah, just Peter, Paul, and Mary's version. That was like 1962 or 60, I think, when that came out. So
yeah, because this album's 63.
Yeah, but yeah, incredible song. Just one of the greatest songs ever written.
Yeah, agreed.
And number 7, Mr. Tambourine Man. Just a really important song. I mean, not so much Dylan's version, but the Byrds version. I mean, it really changed. I mean, Bob had to write it for this to happen, so he takes some credit too. But I mean, the Byrds version changed everything. It changed the sound of music.
It merged two worlds.
Yeah, it's an important song in the history of rock and pop music.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Tambourine Man could be number 2 or number 3 or number 1. Okay, and I got one more, which is also off of Freewheelin', and you already mentioned it. Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. Just
Wow.
One of his best songs, and just an incredible song. And like Sam was saying earlier, and we were just talking about It's All Right, Mom, Bleeding, and this is just, just, hey, this happened, and this happened, but don't worry about it all. I'll survive. Don't think twice. It's all right. Just go on your way. Dylan was so good at those kind of love songs that where things weren't going well, and he can explain it so well. He's kind of biting, but he's not. He's got a way about him with this that
Where I'm bound, I can't tell.
It doesn't sound like he's telling his partner to F off, but he really is.
Yeah, it's a shrug. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, man. That's we're down to the last 5.
Top 5, sir.
And so we have decided to do what on the last 5, Sam?
We are we're not going to go by multiples of 5 here. We're just going to go back and forth. I'm going to give my number 5, and then I'll pass it on to Glenn, and we'll go down to number 1 in that manner.
Yeah.
And I'm interested. I think there might be. I think there's at least one that we're going to match on. Well, at least that we're going to have in this top 5. Maybe 2. I can't tell.
I'm trying to think.
I don't have my list.
Yeah, I think there's one.
All right. So this is going to be interesting. All right. So without further ado, if you're willing and able, we'll press on to number 5.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. My number 5, and I've talked about this in a couple of the other videos. My first introduction to Dylan in terms of a full album of Dylan, was this album, Oh Mercy, Ring Them Bells, number 5. I love everything about it. It could be a hymn. It can be a it's one of those songs that Dylan as a writer really shines. I've sung this song live before, and I know we both know the Sarah Jarosz version of the song.
Version.
That Ring Them Bells was the first deeper cut of Dylan that I heard, that I just was floored. I heard it in high school from my high school teacher. He had the lyrics printed out. It's such a beautiful song. I mean, again, when I got down to my top 5 here, I was struggling figuring out where I'm going to put these 5 songs, and this was one. I mean, at one point it was number 1, and then it jumped to number 5, and it was somewhere in between. Like, I love it, and it's produced beautifully by Mr. Lenoir. And yeah, Ring Them Bells, number 5 for me.
That's an awesome song. I had it ranked lower, and it could have been in the top 20 or top 10 or top 5. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that song too. Big fan. It's a great song.
It's
And
a
you're right.
perfect song. Yeah, it's a
Sarah
perfect
Gerard
song.
does a beautiful version of it. If anybody wants to look that up. Okay, so my number 5 is one you chose, I think, last week, but maybe earlier today you chose it. I won't go back and look. I can't remember, but it was not on any of his official studio albums. But greatest hits, Bob Dylan's greatest hits. One of his 45s after Like a Rolling Stone was Positively 4th Street.
I think that was last week. Yeah.
I absolutely love this song. I love this is Dylan at his meanest and most biting.
Yeah.
Really good at Dylan. I don't know if there's another artist ever that had so many range of emotions in his songs and could portray them so well. Like that's why
Yeah.
people say Bob Dylan can't sing. Bob Dylan is a great singer in terms of being able to interpret and get
He's
his
an actor. He's an
and get
actor.
his the mood that he's trying to portray across. I don't know if there's another singer ever who can do it like Bob can. He can be
That's a good point.
angry, he can be gentle, loving, hateful, and in this song he's definitely hateful.
Yeah.
And I wish
When
just
I
for
was down,
time
you
you could
just stood there
stand
grinning.
inside my shoes so I could, you know what it's like a drag to be you. It's just, man, it doesn't get any meaner and uglier than that.
Yeah. Such a prolific period.
Yeah, but so number 5,
All right.
Positively 4th Street. You're going
That-
number 4, buddy.
Number 4. All right. Again, another one of those songs where I guess this is one of those songs where the song as itself, I'm trying to word this correctly. I love Dylan's version of the song. And the song in question is this is the first showing of this album on this list. For today. My Back Pages is number 4. And what a more fitting day to quote this song than today for Dylan's birthday. I was so much older then. I'm younger than that now. I mean, he could have just sang that over and over again, and that's just a perfect line.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it was written during the time when he was trying to expand his songwriting abilities, where he was going more toward love songs and what people call mainstream. When Dylan mainstream, there's no such thing. But of course, the cover version of all cover versions is the Byrds. And when I saw the Byrds, this is what they opened with. Well, the Byrd, it was McGuinn and Hillman, but they both came out from either side of the stage and met up in the middle and started playing that song. It's just their harmony is just so good for this song. And just a lot of the song, you make your own interpretation of it. But in my opinion, possibly one of the greatest live performances ever was at the Dylan 30th anniversary concert at Madison Square Garden, where the entire ensemble came out and did this song, and they did the Byrds version. So that just shows how Dylan loved it.
Yeah.
And because you have McGuinn, he's on the stage. You have he opens the song. You move over to Tom Petty and Neil Young. You have Eric Clapton. You have Dylan, and you have George Harrison, all singing a verse. And I just think that is just the most perfect live song. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, that was epic.
And again, it's one of those songs I can listen to it over and over and over and over again. I can listen to Dylan's longer version. I can listen to the single by the Byrds. I can listen to the Madison Square Garden version, whatever. I can listen to a ton of versions of it back to back to back and never get sick of it. So that's why it's number 4.
That's an awesome pick. Oh man, my number 4. I think this is the one where we both have in our top 5.
All right.
Bear with me for a second while I find the CD. Every Grain of Sand could easily be my number 1. I think it is one of the most incredible songs ever written. it might be Dylan's best vocal performance ever. If I had to
Wow.
pick a song where I think he sings the best on any song, I think it's this one. Just gorgeous. And yeah, just every hair is numbered like every grain of sand, and like every sparrow falling. It's just the most beautiful, beautiful song. I'm not a religious man, but that makes me very spiritual when I hear that.
Yeah. There's a Dylan does I've mentioned it again before. He does his radio show that he did for years on XM radio, and he talks about gospel music, and he's like, it's like people always come up to me and they say why I play so much gospel music. They said I'm not religious. I don't believe what the artist is telling us. Like why would I listen to that? And he says, well, I enjoy murder ballads, but that doesn't make me a murderer.
Yeah, good point.
Like gospel music can have the same effect on people. I mean,
Yeah.
it can put you in a mood whether you're somebody who's religious or not. On the other hand, I am religious, and I take the song and run with it. So yeah, I'll let you finish up on that one.
No, that's all I have to say. Just like I said, this song could be number one, no problem. I couldn't argue with anyone. Number 3, my friend.
All right, number 3, and I guess it's the last non-album track that I have, and so that's pretty good that a non-album track made it to my number 3. That just
Don't
shows
say
what
Wiggle Wiggle. It's not Wiggle Wiggle, is it?
No, that's for the director's cut of this video later on. But no, number 3, I Shall Be Released. And of course the band had a huge hit with it on Big Pink. But again, it's one of those songs you could close any show with this song. The artist, I don't care who it is. If I like the artist just a little bit, like if they're just a run-of-the-mill folk singer or run-of-the-mill rock band, if they close a show with I Shall Be Released, they're gonna go way up in my book. Of course, I mean, this song closed the main portion of the last waltz.
Yeah, which is incredible. Yeah,
with Dylan almost like just wailing his harmonies with that. They say everything can be replaced. They say every distance is not near. Yet I swear I see your face. I swear I see the face of every man who put me here.
Yeah.
It's one of those songs. Again, it's always in my head. I'm always singing it. I could listen to it all day long. If I had to make a CD of 10 Dylan songs to take on an island, this would make the list, because it's so beautiful. It can put you in a good mood. If you're feeling down, you can listen to it like the blues.
Mm-hmm.
It's got everything. It's not a rocker. I think it was another basement tape track that he wrote again in that prolific period in 1967. I love this song. It might be my favorite. Well, next to Van Morrison singing Caravan in the Last Waltz, I think this is probably my favorite part of the Last Waltz is when they sing I Shall Be Released.
Disagree with you. Yeah, great performance.
So,
yeah,
that's my
awesome.
number 3. I can't say anything else.
Wow. What's my number 3? I got to look here. I can't remember off the top of my head. Okay.
Don't be changing it.
You mentioned it. The last song off of Highway 61, wow. Desolation Row. I love that song. My favorite Dylan harmonica is in this song. I love the end of it, the harmonica part at the end.
And it's desolate too. It's a desolate sounding solo.
Yes, it is. And Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot fighting in the captain's tower. And I don't know if I have a clue what this song is about.
He might not either.
Line is so interesting. You could interpret the song, I think, a million different ways.
That song is like, like those pictures where like you have like hundreds and hundreds of little pictures that are all pictures.
Yeah.
But when you zoom out, it makes an actual image. That's what this song is.
Yeah. I remember when I was in college, I had in English, we had to compare 2 poets or something, and I compared T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland and Bob Dylan's Desolate Desolation Row.
Wow.
I think a lot of it was inspired by that, actually.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's number 3, Desolation Row. Okay, 2 left. I'm
Top
freaking
2.
excited.
Top 2.
I don't know where you're going, man. I don't.
This top 2. This was one of those songs early on. You mentioned it. I don't even think. I think it was 2 videos ago that you mentioned this song. And I've got this. I've only shown this album one other time. Yeah, one other time on this video. Again, I mentioned that I'm and not to bring anything other than music into the video, but I mentioned I am a religious guy, and part of that I've actually given a couple of messages at different churches, and I guess my shtick, so to speak, is I take songs that I love that are from a secular world, and I put them into a religious context just to show that you can find inspiration anywhere. And I did a sermon on With God on Our Side.
Oh.
Number 2. And I think it's from the eyes of somebody who is questioning everything. I mean, he goes through history, and this that the Germans have God on their side. Though they murdered 6 million in the ovens they fried. I mean, that's just that line.
Yeah.
Like, good grief. And then the line about Judas Iscariot, Jesus was betrayed by a kiss. I can't think for you, but you'll have to decide whether Judas Iscariot had God on his side. I mean, I think that is just the most human. That might be the most human line he's ever written. And I built a lot off of that line with the group that I was speaking to, and it's just, oh my word. I mean, it's just one of those songs that you take something from it. And then he did versions of it later in the 80s where he talked about Vietnam. He threw a verse about Vietnam in there, which I love. I wish he would write more since post 9/11, especially. I think he could do more. I mean, it's one of those songs you can make it longer. You can take a verse for every terrible thing that's happened. You can do a verse about COVID. I mean, good grief.
Yeah.
You can do. I don't know, what he's written that hasn't been recorded of this song. As with like a Rolling Stone, he wrote pages and pages and pages. But I mean, yeah, With God on Our Side, I think is just, again, I was torn to put this here. I knew it was going to make my top 10, but I didn't know where I was going to throw it, and this is where it is at this very moment at 5:43 on May 24th, 2021. So that's my number 2, With God on Our Side.
Wow, it's an amazing song. I love your story. That's great. Why it means so much to you. That's
yeah, awesome. I love it.
I love that. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna make a change. I'm gonna go back to number 50 and make that, and take Like a Rolling Stone and put it number 50, and I'm gonna put God on My Side number 2.
Was that number 50?
You talked me into it.
I think that was one of the ones that gave me a small aneurysm when you said it.
Yeah, probably did. Well, my number 1, you gave me a small aneurysm. So,
okay.
Number 2, Like a Rolling Stone. Now it's number 2. It should be number 1. I have a hard time ranking this song because I think it's the most important 45 or single ever released. I think it was a game changer. And like you said with Springsteen, saying when you hear that drum and then the song kicking in, and it being like, I mean, let's say in 1965, when pop songs were 2 minutes and 10 seconds, you didn't go over that, or you didn't get played on the radio. And this resonated, and they played this for 6 minutes and however many seconds it is. And lyrically, it was so different, and vocally and instrumentally, the organ is just freaking kick ass. Al Cooper's playing on this is just genius.
And mostly improv, right?
Yes, and he's not even a keyboard player at the time.
Can you imagine that kind of talent?
Yeah, and just incredible song. I think the most important song of the 60s. And so arguably it could be number one, but it's not actually my favorite Dylan song, but I think it's so important in the history of pop music that I have to rank it up there.
Yeah.
So number two, Like a Rolling Stone.
Well, we both
Here we
know
go.
we both know each other's number ones. I've already written yours down on my list. I'm keeping
Let's
track
stop
of
now
them.
and do it. Let's stop and we'll do a video next week with our number ones.
Stay tuned. Yeah, cliffhanger for everybody. No, if you're doing any kind of studying, you know, if you go back, you can obviously figure out what our number ones are now. Glenn, again, just mentioned it. Again, it was one I was torn to throw it at number one. It was definitely going in the top five. I didn't know where it was going to go. And after thinking and thinking and thinking and pondering what it means to me, my number one from Shot of Love, Every Grain of Sand.
I can't argue with you.
Wonderful. And again, it's another one of those songs, just like with God on Our Side. I gave a message about it, and I've sung this song live too at a church. And
wow.
I mean, you mentioned some of the lines earlier. You know, every hair is numbered like every grain of sand. Every sparrow falling like every grain of sand. Onward in the journey, I can see the master's hands.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the final song on his gospel trilogy, though he would have songs like this. Well, not like this, but with thematic elements of his faith moving forward. And to me, the lyrics in this song are the reason why he's a Nobel Prize winner of poetry. I mean, if you knew nothing, if this was you know John Smith, the poet, and you read that as just a poem, I mean, it's a perfect poem. And you know, when again you mentioned you think it's Dylan's best vocal. I mean, the vocal in it, and again, the harmonica at the end is just so.
Another gorgeous.
So
probably my second favorite Dylan harmonica for sure.
And it goes. It's like a minute and a half solo at the end of just.
And you know what? A lot of people don't like Dylan's harmonica playing because it's just kind of like just screams at you. But that is very melodic. The harmonica.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I mean, and again, you're like, man, this is 1981, and you know, you weren't hearing this in 1981 from anybody else. I mean, everything was becoming mainstream. I mean, like radio hits were the big thing. You were on the cusp of music videos and that, you know, MTV kicking off. But you hear a song like Every Grain of Sand, the final track off of Dylan's 3 gospel albums. I mean, it's like, you think he's gone. You're like people criticize his gospel period, and then he writes something like this. Like, I mean, it's a perfect song. It's perfect lyrics. It's perfect melody. The instrumentation is perfect. It's slight, but it's perfect. It's a closing, and again, it's part of the reason why this album is possibly my top 5 favorite Dylan album. Period. Wow. Even with like songs like I won't mention other songs on here, but there are some songs that a lot of people call filler. But to me, just the whole album is just so good, and then it ends with that masterful work. I mean, it's my number one. I would probably defend it to my grave that it would be my favorite Dylan song. I would say if I made this list in a year, it would stay there.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'll tell you, if anything ever sent me back to Sunday school or to church, it would be that song. It is a powerful, powerful song.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I don't know if you have to be a strong believer in whatever God is or anything, not to get religious, but I mean, you can be spiritual, and that is.
Oh yeah.
The song is. Yeah. Wow, it really gets you. It's an incredible song. It's a great pick. I can't argue with your number one pick. I absolutely love it. I'm getting even with you now because you said I gave you heart palpitations when I ranked with God on Our Side so low.
This is my first
video we did. He takes my number one Dylan song and puts it in the bottom 20 or something, and I just about.
You did. You
Well,
spit.
lucky I was wearing Depends, because I'm telling you, I had an accident, man.
Oh gosh.
Visions of Johanna, my favorite Bob Dylan song. Lyrically incredible. I love the live version from the '66 tour that is on Biograph album. It's also on the release, so they released the '66
Yeah.
tour on the bootleg series. But because it's just the way he sings it live with the acoustic guitar is freaking amazing. The imagery in this song, uh, I can't quite figure out some of it, but I get if you watch our friend Jeff at Calico Silver, he did a review of this song and broke down the lyrics and what he thought they were about. So, but it's almost like Bob sitting in a room with wishing he was somewhere else with Johanna, and a woman comes in with a handful of rain, which is kind of a drug reference, and so it's kind of hazy, and you know, jewels and binoculars hang from the head of the mule. I can't, you know, I, there's just the
I
image.
wonder if that was a reference to some of the audience booing. I mean, like just the people up in their balconies, pinky up kind of deal.
But he
Like the opera glasses.
yeah, I don't know how much he was getting booed before he wrote it though, right? Because the '66 tour was after, he'd already written it and recorded it. So
I guess he'd already done Newport, I suppose. But yeah, I guess
yeah,
no like major venues like with the upper crust.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be just a slam on, almost like George Harrison's Piggies, out to dinner with their piggy wives. It's almost like, maybe it's a slam on the upper crust of society,
Yeah.
calling the masses, jewels and binoculars hang from the head of the mule. But yeah, that's my number one, Visions of Johanna. And when I look up Dylan's list, there's a lot of, a lot, I would say Every Grain of Sand and Visions of Johanna are universally in the top 5 Dylan
Yeah.
songs
Yeah.
we look at. So I think we did good.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't. I mean, I don't. Again, we don't. We're not basing this off of any kind of like Rolling Stone list or any garbage
No.
like that. Where this is purely I guess a lot of it's personal memories associated with these songs. I mean, a lot of it, of course, is the writing itself and the music. I mean, you can't deny that. But yeah, I'm happy with how it turned out. I'm happy with my list overall, and I probably wouldn't change it for now.
No, that's great, man. You did an awesome job. I so appreciate you doing this with me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
We're going to continue a series of some kind. We're going to take a week or two and kind of figure out where we want to go next.
Yep.
And we're going to definitely do something because we love working together. And Sam, you're a great guy. I really appreciate your friendship.
Thank you.
And
Same.
everybody, please subscribe to Sam St. John. It's important. I see you're up into the 60s now, I think.
I'm moving on up, as they say.
That's awesome. I'm glad to see that. So, yeah, everybody, thanks for watching this. It was so much fun. I just loved doing this. It was great.
Yeah, fantastic.
And let's just leave it with happy birthday, Bob.
Happy birthday, Bob.
Take
You're
care.
younger than I know.
Yes.